going too fast. I'm taking three.
I'm going for the St. Louis now.
Oh no!
Son of a bitch.
You get your two?
Yeah.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thotgor here, of course, and we are back in the Kutzoff. Yes, I know, I put up very few videos in the past few months, and most of the videos have been of Kutzoff, but I mean, given the title, Solo Warrior number 2, you know that this is going to be a pretty amazing battle. So basically, what was going on here, just playing a random battle here before a scrimmage that NGA had lined up with another clan. So while the battle starts up, probably should recap in the last week or so what has been going on in ships. We do have a new patch in ships, which is pretty good. I have been enjoying some of the new features of it. You'll notice that I have some mods installed that I don't normally use. I've used I think it's the fog remover in Aslan's. I've got that turned on, so that's why things look a little more crisp. And I do have the smoke counter, finally. It wasn't that I was reluctant to put it on. It was just, oh, it meant I had to open up Aslan's and find it in the damn list and click the damn button. I mean, that's 3 steps, and too many for me. So I finally did it, and very, very useful. If you guys aren't using it in your own play, I would highly recommend getting Aslan's, installing it, and using your smoke counter. I mean, Aslan's is great for a number of things. There are many, many mods there, but there are some pretty fundamental ones, like the training room mod, so that you can actually just go into a room and, you know, experiment with things or train up with some friends and whatnot. So it's very, very useful to have Aslan's, and you should all go and download it and utilize it. Anyway, what else do we have in ships? So I have tested out my New Orleans since the changes came to some of the U.S. cruisers. So the New Orleans got an increase a decrease to the turret rotation speed and a decrease to the reload. I wasn't really a big fan of the New Orleans before the changes, and now after the changes, I'm still not that big of a fan. And it's not that the ship isn't that good, because she's not bad. It's just she's so limited in capability when it comes to close-in fighting. And I'm pretty used to close-in fighting, and I am fairly aggressive in my play. And so when I get in close, and I'm talking 10 kilometers and under here in a cruiser, I'm looking for torpedoes to, you know, just throw at people and to get those ships away from me. That's what I want to do, and that's what I'm used to doing. And you can do it on every ship, every Tier 8 cruiser. I mean, they don't have the best range. Russians, I'm looking at you, but they're there. New Orleans still doesn't have that, and it's just... Because your AA guns, yeah, that's great, you have great AA, whatever. What if it's a battle like this where there's no aircraft carrier? And your magnificent AA is being used to shoot down spotter planes and and fighters, and it's just, nah. Speaking of spotter planes, I understand that there is a change to the view of spotter planes. Now, I have never used spotter planes because I hate spotter planes. I hate the view that it puts you in. It just throws me way off, and it was useless. But apparently now, and I have yet to test it, so, you know, take this with a grain of salt. If you throw up your spotter plane, you get a much better top-down view. And when enemy ships are in smoke, it gives you the opportunity of shooting those enemy ships in the smoke. Now, you still won't see them in the smoke, but what you will have is a much better perspective on where the enemy ship is firing from within the smoke, assuming the enemy, of course, is firing his or her guns. So, I mean, I don't know if any of you have noticed. I definitely have noticed that when I'm in my smoke, especially in British cruisers, I am not safe. Not safe at all, especially in that that moment there where you're kind of spotted, but you're not because you're, you know, slowly getting into your reverse now to back into your smoke. It is deadly. People have just been destroying me because you know, I've got my Neptune now, so I've been taking her out and playing around with that, and just getting obliterated in my smoke. And I was wondering what's going on, and I was talking to some people in the clan, and I forget who mentioned it. I think it was Hutch or Sabim had mentioned it, and my God, revolutionary. So I would suggest that people go and try this, take a look. I know I'm definitely going to when I get a chance here. Word on the street, or maybe I should say word on the dock, is that the Amagi is amazing. Once again, the Amagi was always amazing, to be honest, but in competitive play with a spotter plane and this new top-down view, Amagi can obliterate ships in smoke. I don't know if any of you guys got to see the Kings of the Sea, I think it was called, a European tournament, basically a Supremacy League equivalent, I guess, in Europe. And they were running Amagis and obliterating people in smoke. It was something else. Yeah, just something else. What else do we have going on here in ships? We have ranked battles. Ranks battles are back as of today, February 10th. I think we're in our 5th season of ranked battles. Should be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. Once again, it's a same old story for me. I'm going to, you know, try and grind through it as much as I can. I will probably reach a wall at some point, although this time I'm going to make an effort to maybe just break through that wall. I have to get it in my head that it's going to take a certain number of battles to get this done. It's not something that I can just, you know, 1 or 2 battles here or there and it's eventually going to happen type thing. It's, you got to stick with it. So I'm going to try. I'm not going to make any promises. I'm curious, the tiers. Wargaming, I think it said tier 7, but is it really going to be tier 7 all the way through? That kind of disturbs me because I really do want to play my Kutov more, and I think that would be amazing. A little truck driving around there on the landing strip, that's always cool. Anyway, what else? I think that's about it in ships that's going on that I wanted to talk about. You can see the battle that I'm in right now is progressing decently. We're down a ship, of course, but we're about to, you know, get rid of this enemy destroyer here, so that's not too bad. And we do have a pretty good hold on the caps. I mean, C is relatively locked down, B is in the process of being capped, and A is ours, but it does look like it's heavily contested at this point in time. So we can't really count on A, and it's unfortunate because if we notice on the minimap, all of my allies at A have grouped up into A. The enemy is flanked around them, and they're going to just get crushed in there at A. So it's pretty tragic. Managed to get the kill on the destroyer, so that's not too bad at all. I do still need to keep an eye out for that rune, of course. I don't want the rune to start spamming AP at me and doing massive amounts of damage. That would be terrible. We have an Edinburgh off in the distance that we're putting fire into, and we're moving into the B cap because we do want to help our ally capture this point. The capture of the B cap is going to be pretty critical for the reasons mentioned already. The events at A are unfolding poorly, right? We can see enemy ships starting, or allied ships starting to die, so we need this B cap zone. So I got to get in here and I got to help out my ally. I've got a smoke ready to go, so basically that is my plan, to get in here, launch my smoke, and sit in the smoke and just dish out some damage is what I am hoping to do. Now you need to be careful. You need to be careful with the Kutov smoke. You don't get many of them, so you got to choose your opportunities. But more importantly, once I pop this smoke, it means the Thotgor there in front of me, my ally, will be the only ally spotting the enemies, and the Thotgor does not have very many hit points remaining, so this is bad for me. Bad for him, bad for me as well, because if I do pop my smoke, I'm going to lose sight of the Edinburgh and the enemies around me, unless I have other allies who are also spotting enemy ships outside of the smoke, right? So it's not that great of a situation, so I am going to hold off on the smoke as long as I can. You can see my ally Thotgor is gone now. The Edinburgh just went into smoke, so I'm not going to be able to see that person anymore. The enemies have capped A, and I am just about to cap B, so I start taking fire from the Edinburgh there, so I do decide to pop my smoke. I'm going to bring it to a reverse here and try and dish out some damage to some of these enemy battleships, because we can see that we do have a few enemy battleships, like this enemy Montana and the enemy Yamato, and they are both relatively, well, the Yamato is pretty much on full health. Well, no, I got this. I guess the same. They have a lot of hit points, is what I'm getting at. So it's not a great situation. Although I do have some things going for me right now. I'm gonna see the Edinburgh there again. I'm in my smoke, so this is good. The Montana and the Yamato won't be able to spot me unless they get really, really close. And I have this island here on the port side of me. Is that the port? Starboard side of me, which is good as well, because you can see it just blocks some torpedoes for me, which is fantastic. And I'm able to swoop in behind this island in case, if and when my smoke runs out. And thanks to my timer there, I'm easily able to see when my first puff goes out and when the last puff goes out. And that's what the two numbers are there. One is, the time remaining on that first bit of smoke, and the other is the time remaining on that last bit of smoke. Very valuable information to know. The Montana goes out of sight, so we're not going to be able to put shots into him, but I do have the Yamato here. We can see that I have my destroyer friend as well helping me out, which is great. My destroyer friend is on very low health though, which is not so great, but still, I will take all of the help I can possibly get. If we do notice, I only have 4 allied ships remaining versus half of the enemy team, so that's not so good. Not so good at all. But we are still going to try. It's not in my nature to just give up here. So I do I have some fires? No, we don't have any fires myself on the Yamato, but my destroyer friend does have the Yamato burning. So this is good. Hopefully those fires will amount to a whole lot. Now I need to increase the distance here between myself and those tier 10 battleships. Cannot be that close to them. I will die. So I'm trying to get myself away. Slowly doing it as well. You can see shots are coming in from the enemy battleships, but I pretty much have my stern on them, so this is good. I can still get citadeled through the stern though, so don't make that mistake. It can definitely happen, but I do have greater chances of avoiding any potential citadel hits by keeping the stern. Now I am going to turn to try and get the enemy destroyer. My allied destroyer friend takes out the enemy destroyer, but the allied destroyer goes down. Enemy destroyer launched torpedoes. This is something to keep in mind, folks. When you pop your smoke, that is a huge sort of like blinking light that says launch torpedoes here, launch torpedoes here. So you are not safe in your smoke. Don't get lulled into a false sense of security in the smoke. Always be on the guard, right? You see an enemy destroyer and it's, that destroyer is within torpedo range. That player launched torpedoes. You have to run. Those are the assumptions you should be making. We see the enemy battleship over there, a little concerning, but I do have that enemy Edinburgh there off in the distance on very low health indeed. So I pop my smoke. Probably wasn't that great use of my smoke. I probably could have held off for it a little, but I do have these enemy battleships. So we see the enemy Yamato goes down. Fantastic. We needed that Yamato to burn down, and he definitely did, thanks to my destroyer friend. So perfect. Now we need to get some hits in on the enemy Montana here, and the Montana's on pretty low health. So I'm hoping that I can set a few fires, keep those fires burning, and hopefully rack up more damage on that Montana and take down the Montana as well. And it was at about this time in the battle where I'm thinking, where is my team? What is going on? I'm the only one left. Yeah, so that's not so great. I pretty much decided that I was probably going to die, but I'm only on about 97,000 damage. The Kutsov can do more, so I figure, what the hell, I'm going to try and do more damage. If I can just do more damage before I die, I'm going to be happy. Now, the Montana is still burning, and I didn't realize how low of the hit points Montana had. So I figured Montana was going to pop up. I was going to have to deal with it. No. Doesn't happen. Montana burns out and goes down. 3 enemy ships remaining. We've got a Tirpitz, Edinburgh, and Shimakaze. Now the Edinburgh has very little hit points, so a few hits into the Edinburgh and I should be able to take that player down. Not a problem. Tirpitz, on the other hand, whole different story. Tirpitz, this player I think has been just lurking in the background the entire match, one of those battleship players. And is now, because there's only 3 ships remaining, has to push forward, and is reluctantly doing so. So this player is pretty full health, and I'm going to have to deal with him here shortly. And the Shimakaze, not sure what the hit point situation is on the Shimakaze, but I imagine it's probably pretty decent, and I was terrified. The only thing that I have going for me is I know that the Shimakaze just launched torpedoes, right? We saw them go through B, and so I do have, well, at this point in time, probably a little over a minute remaining before I can expect to see more Shimakaze torps, which is good, because it's going to allow me to get into position here and maybe do something, right? So there we go. Edinburgh pops up. I instantly put shots into the Edinburgh. Figure those are going to be no problem. Get the Edinburgh. Everything's fine. No. Of course not. Never goes that way. Not for me. So I launch off a full salvo this time, turned into the Edinburgh to get all my guns off, and there we go. Edinburgh's gone. Perfect. Now, we still do have the C zone. Tirpitz is popping up. There he is there. And my team starts telling me, get away. Start telling me, we will win if you run away. It's possible. It's possible. Not going to say it's not possible, but I did want to do more damage, and the Shimakaze, I didn't know where the Shimakaze is, because if the Shimakaze starts capping one of the points, the Tirpitz is close enough to swoop in and cap the other point, specifically B, and then we lose, and then I just ran away for nothing. So I wasn't really digging the whole runaway situation here. There's there's not lots of time, but there's enough time left for the enemies to start, blocking the points that we're gaining here. Now the Shimakaze started capping C, so we see that there, but I still don't, I have no idea where Shimakaze is. But I do have to deal with the Tirpitz. So we're going to try and deal with the Tirpitz here. Now we have the Tirpitz on fire, we got a Confederate off of them, so this is good, but it's going to all be about maneuvering at this point in time. No smoke remaining, so I'm not going to be able to rely on that. The only thing that I have going for me right now is that I'm increasing the distance between myself and the Tirpitz. The Tirpitz still sees me fine, sure, whatever. But by increasing the distance, I'm playing to the Tirpitz's disadvantage, right, of dispersion. And we can see the dispersion with the incoming shots. I'm getting pretty lucky in dodging some of these shots. Now, that last shot I took did destroy one of my rear turrets, so that does kind of suck. But I'm not out of the fight as of yet. So once the Tirpitz turns into me, I need to start making my way towards B. I can't sail, towards C. I cannot sail in a straight line towards C because the Tirpitz will fire at me and has a good chance of just citadeling me and killing me. So I really have to maneuver around to try and get myself into C without dying. And it's going to be a little difficult, but yeah, as we're going to see, I do manage some things. So there we go. There's another fire on the Tirpitz, and the Tirpitz has, I think, used his repair, so I'm able to just keep these fires burning, which is excellent, because that's another thing. I mean, the Tirpitz was on a lot of hit points before we started this encounter, so the more hit points that I can take off the Tirpitz, the better. I can just whittle him down to no hit points, maybe even get another kill, and that would go a long way to securing our victory here. Now, maneuvering around like a banshee, for the reasons stated, right? We see shots come in, that's from the Shimakaze, which reminds me that the Shimakaze is probably still lurking around. Tirpitz puts out the fire with his repair ability, but we can see that I did manage to get another fire going. So if I can just get one more fire, that should be able to burn for its fruition. We see torpedoes coming in, perfect. All of the crazy maneuvering I've been doing to avoid the Tirpitz and the incoming fire from the Tirpitz has paid off because I've also avoided the Shimakaze torpedoes. You really need to keep your path unpredictable, right? And that is what I'm trying to do. I'm going from side to side, like turning into the Tirpitz when the Tirpitz fires at me, turning away from the Tirpitz when the Tirpitz is not firing at me. Now it's a little difficult because this player is rotating between the bow and stern turrets, which makes it a little more difficult to do this. But if you can pull it off, just like I'm doing now, see, Tirpitz is reloading, now is where I'm vulnerable because I'm exposing my broadside, but it was to get myself into a position where I can start taking advantage of the islands around me. I need these islands. So finally, I get myself into a position where, yeah, I can just go into C, sail in a straight line, not too many worries, right? We see that B is being capped. Obviously, we know it's the Tirpitz. I expected the Shimakaze actually to start popping up here. I didn't know where the Shimakaze was. People predicted that Shimakaze would just go right into B. But as we will quickly find out, Shimakaze actually did go out that little exit there towards B, but then circled around and is going to come up from the south and is going to try and attack me from the south. And I have some pretty big decisions coming up here once the Tirpitz does pop up. We can see that I am capping the zone, which is good. We don't have much time left on the clock. And I have managed to hold off the enemy so far. There's the Shimakaze. Player pops up, but look at the Tirpitz. Tirpitz is on such low health, but the Tirpitz does have an excellent chance, being this close, of actually hitting me and killing me just in one fell swoop. So I'm more concerned about the Tirpitz than I am about the Shimakaze. So again, turn my stern to the Tirpitz. Now I know that this puts me at a disadvantage because I only have the one turret on the stern, but it's going to be my best chance of actually being able to survive for the next few seconds while we win. Because we are going to win. More torpedoes come in from the Shimakaze, able to dodge those torpedoes because again I'm opening up the distance with the Tirpitz. I'm playing to the Tirpitz disadvantage, which is what you want to try and do in most situations, right? There we go. Time runs out. Victory is ours. I gotta say, I couldn't believe first of all that he managed to survive, and then I'm looking at the results here. I'm like, oh my god, like, you know, 160,000 damage, and then wait, solo warrior. Oh yes. Oh yes. This is the second time that I've ever managed to achieve the Solar Warrior. Good battle. I do have the other Solar Warrior up on the channel as well if you're interested in watching it. And it's funny to note that in this Solar Warrior, I didn't need Bad Panda to hand me the Solar Warrior like he did last time. Did this one all on my own. Thank you very much. So it wasn't too bad. Had some pretty good results here. You know, 8,800 experience, 160,000 damage, a bunch of credits. I think that's a little over 2,800 base experience, so that's not too bad. But very decent game. It could have been a whole lot different, I think, if the team wouldn't have balled themselves up into A. But whatever, it's still made for one hell of a battle. You can see one of the players from the battle is thanking me for the carry, and because I have no shame, I let the player know that he can check out the replay on the YouTube channel. Anyway, that is today's video. I do thank you very much for sticking around and watching it through. You know, leave any comments you have for me in the video comment section below. Love reading those and responding back to them. Hit the old like button if you did like today's video. Hit subscribe if you are not a subscriber. And as always, I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day.